right, welcome back, guys. A whole nother week, a whole nother episode. Let's talk about this way. I'm very excited to have one of my good buddies on the podcast, one of my best friends, fellow groomsman in my wedding. Greg Haber's out here with us today. Before we get into Greg's story, a couple things I want to say. Thank you so much for anyone who's been following along, who's liked my page, who's liked the YouTube channel, Spotify podcast. I appreciate it a ton. It's been super fun, and seeing all the support has been just an amazing thing. So thank you guys so much. Another shout out again, as you guys already know what I'm going to say, to the band Hannah. The guys over there from Simi Valley doing a wonderful job, man. Keep it up. Listen to their music. Give them a shot. They're a great band to hear out. I'll have their details in the episode description as well after the episode, like I always do. And a shout out to my boy Sven. Wearing a sweater right here that's got his face on it. It was his birthday recently, so always got to show love to my dogs here. You got your own dog. You got Barry.
Yeah, that's why I'm here in town and come picking them up.
See that? Yeah. What we do for the dogs, we love. So just a quick shout out to Sven, and that's why I'm sporting this today. Birthday turned 8 years old. 8 years old, and he's still kicking strong. Anyways, Greg, happy to have you on the show, man. How you doing?
I'm great, man. Yeah, happy to be here. I know you've been doing this for a little while now, so figured it was a good opportunity. I was in town to come see you and get on the show. Yeah,
well, we don't see you often. We'll dive into that because of the career you have, which a lot of people, I'm sure, have a lot of appreciation for because you're doing something for the country. Greg, a lot of people, a good chunk of people watching this already know our relationship. We go very far back to college. You've been friends almost over 10 years. Obviously, Groom's My Wedding, as I mentioned. So I really appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you willing to talk about your path because I also think this is a pretty, I wouldn't say touchy, but there's a lot that goes into what you're doing. A lot of different emotions people feel in this type of career and a lot of different routes they go in the actual service and then afterwards. So before we hop into that, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? I know all about you, but for these people to hear and listen, who's Greg Haber? Where were you born? Where'd you come from?
Yeah, so I was born originally in California, moved to Arizona when I was really young. Spent majority of my life in Phoenix, Arizona. I graduated a couple years after Herbie, who was one of the guests on your show, and so spent my first 18 years essentially in Arizona. And then after that in college too, went up to Northern Arizona where I met Herbie, you, everybody else, and majored in criminal justice, which I haven't done anything with, but I chose to go into the military. I commissioned in 2017 into the Army, and I've been all over the place, whether it was I left Flagstaff, went to Georgia for about a year and a half, went to Washington for another 3 years, and then from Washington, I went back to Georgia for about a year. From there, I went to Texas, where I'm currently at right now, and then I had a short stint up in North Carolina, and then came back to Texas, and here I am. So that's kind of start to finish real quick.
Boy, you're on track to making this the quickest episode ever. You just literally laid out the whole entire lifeline. And usually I build up to it, but
oh, my bad.
No, that's fine. We'll break it down, man. Okay, so let's take it back a little bit. So obviously, born and raised out here in Arizona, right? I mean, California and then Arizona.
Yeah, raised. I don't say that I'm like from California at all because I was there till I was like 3. So
okay, still born in Cali though.
Yeah.
What part of Cali?
Fullerton.
Okay, Fullerton, California.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I know where that's at. Okay, so you came over here at 3, and then pretty much in Arizona since until you left for the Army.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so by the way, if you guys haven't picked up on it, yes, he's in the Army, and we're gonna touch more on that and dive deep into that. All right. So born and raised here in Arizona, you went to high school out here, and then you went to NAU. What got you to wanting to go to Northern Arizona University?
So I applied to Arizona State and Northern Arizona University. I visited Norwich University in Vermont when I was in high school. It's a senior military college. It's very comparable to West Point. Visited, it was great. I loved the area. It was just very expensive, and my grades and my performance in high school weren't the greatest my senior year, and so me competing for a scholarship out of high school just wasn't on the table.
Why is that?
What do you mean?
What, like, why your senior year of high school was it all going?
Oh man, I was focused on football, hanging out with the guys, just doing bad things with all the friends, and so
You're not much taller than me. Did you really think you had a chance in the football?
no.
No, that's it.
No, it was. I mean,
I get it.
I started, so like whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't trying to shoot for a football career or anything. But yeah, I don't know. Something just like happened senior year where I just like completely fell off like all motivation to like do good in like academics. I can't remember what it was, but I was just so focused on just having fun my senior year instead of like prepping myself for the future. And so that kind of like whittled me down to Arizona State or Northern Arizona. It's
Sure.
like in-state tuition's always cheaper.
Yeah, that's facts.
And so, and I knew if I stayed in Phoenix, I probably wouldn't have graduated like from Arizona State. Like I would have been home all the time, seeing the old friends from high school, which great dudes. I loved growing up with them. But as you probably know, like, and some of your viewers, that you just kind of drift apart from your high school crowd, and they didn't do. A lot of them kind of just didn't follow their dreams, their hopes and dreams, and so after I made the decision to go to Northern Arizona University, and now that I'm older, kind of looking back, I'm glad I made that decision, because like if I would have stayed in Phoenix, I don't think it would have been like great for me, and
Sure.
taking that step away from home,
Yeah.
even though it was only like 2 hours away, it was the perfect middle. I was close enough to home that any emergencies would happen, I could take a quick drive down to see my mom or whatever, and then I was also further enough away where I wouldn't have that temptation of like going to Phoenix all the time.
So it's just the perfect combination of distance and being just far enough.
Yeah, and I just needed that independence away from like all that, and looking back, like I don't regret that at all, and also like it was just a completely different environment, like Phoenix being hot and the desert and whatnot. I've never knew anything else other than the desert, and so moving up to Flagstaff in the mountains with the trees, getting into snowboarding and all that just kind of gave me a different perspective on like what the world can like really like provide.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love Flagstaff. I can't say it enough. I love being up there. Recently, I've been going more to Pine Top out there. If any of you guys have been to Pine Top, it's absolutely beautiful. That lifestyle, though, being up in the mountains and the forests is just amazing. So I feel you on that. Some of my best years were in Flagstaff, right? That being said, so that was the choice for you to Northern Arizona University. Can I ask you, your senior year, I know you said, oh, I don't know, I kind of let the grades fall and I was just kind of enjoying myself. I know you had a little bit of the friends of the influence, focus a little bit on football, but do you think any of it was maybe attributed to the fact that at that point you knew you were wanting to go to a university for more of a military pursuit?
Are you talking about like because?
Well, so you talked about, you said, was it Norwich?
No, yeah, Norwich University.
Norwich University,
yeah.
and you'd mentioned it was a very high caliber school, very similar to West Point.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, West Point's the top of the top. Shout out to my cousin Robbie, who graduated from there. But that being said, my thought is that you knew right away it was going to be something involved with the military, regardless of the degree you get. Am I wrong on that, or was that the right assumption?
No, you're right. Yeah, coming out of college, or my bad, high school, I knew I was going to either do an ROTC program or an academy, and I was going to follow that route, and so I can commission as an officer. It was just really the how I was going to do that, and whether that was go to Norwich and do a senior military college academy style, or if I wanted to do, have a normal college experience and do ROTC, which at the end of the day, you still get a piece of paper saying you commission as a second lieutenant.
Right.
You're not any further along than the other, if that makes sense. Like West Pointers still get a degree, they still get a commission. People that do ROTC or OCS, which is Officer Candidate School, again, they still have the same end state. It's just the experience, it just varies.
Got you. So really then there wasn't any of that thinking in your senior being saying, well, I'm going to go to school here. I have enough, just enough to at least get into ASU
Yep.
or NAU. And I already know I'm going to go the ROTC route and try to commission as an officer. Do you think any of that played into your thinking of just how your senior year of high school went, knowing that like that was already going to be on the table? Or did that just, I'm just curious to know if maybe that impacted a little bit thing. Well, I'm going to go to the military anyways, and I'm going to go the officer route. There's nothing that's going to really derail me to get into NAU or ASU. And at the time, let's just be honest, NAU was pretty easy to get into.
Yeah, either one. Like I got accepted into Arizona State and NAU,
Okay.
and then I don't know. I don't think my head was just there. I think you're right. Like it was, hey, like the end state is going to get met regardless of what school I go to, and so why should I, you know, put a better foot out there if the end state's there? I'd rather have fun and enjoy my senior year versus like, stick my head in the books and not have like a social life or whatever.
And try to scramble to get into Norwich.
Yeah, and I had a really bad problem because I didn't have, none of my family went to college. None of my friends, my really close friends, were trying to go to college, and so I didn't really have like a good mentor to like know what right looked like, and so that kind of impacted me too, where it was just like, okay, well, I know where I want to be, but like I don't know the steps to go there, so I just got to figure it out myself. And so if I knew at the end of the day, like I'm really glad I didn't go to Norwich or West Point or whatever.
Sure.
I have these conversations all the time. Like that whole lifestyle was just absolutely wild hearing about. I'm glad I got an opportunity at like a normal college experience. And so regardless of the end state or looking back, like I would not choose any different. But yeah, I think between just not having the right mentors in place to show me how to, get to the cream of the crop school, and then just focus on having like a really good senior year where I enjoyed it instead of cramming as much as I can into, I guess, being the top, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of pride in being the top as well, though, right? But I think either way, truthfully, looking at you and getting to know you over the years, either route you would have gone would have still made you the great person you are today, by the way. I'll tell you something, man.
Yeah,
that being said, so you go in to NAU knowing you do ROTC, and we'll dive a bit into that lifestyle, because sometimes I remember us through the college years just being like, man, how are you doing this? And some of it was a little bit still rigid too on things that you had to wake up for, get ready for. Sometimes you couldn't go out with us as much as we went out and had a good time. But before we dive into that, I want to know, and I'm sure they want to know too, why was the military on your mind right from the get-go? Was that just from day one, you just knew as a kid, yeah, I want to be in the military?
Yeah, so growing up, I've always wanted to do the military. The one mentor or the one person that I looked up to and really my only father figure was my grandfather.
Love that guy. Good guy, man.
Yeah. Like if I could be half the man he was, like I consider life a success. But he did 20 years in the Army. He was in World War II, the Korean War, and he was in during Vietnam. And he was the one person I looked up to, and I was like, okay, like I think the military is what made this man the way he is. And so that's kind of what made me choose, the lifestyle that I have now. And kind of always, was my focus the entire time. And then obviously like just being a boy, like a little boy, like I was always like into guns and like, playing freaking war or whatever.
Army man,
yeah. And so I was always playing like, Call of Duty, like the OG Call of Duties, on Xbox, and every like cool war game that would come out, I would play it. And so that was like my whole, I guess, identity, like as a little kid, was like the Army. That's what I want to do. And so, and I just kind of stuck through it. It was always my main goal, whether I was going to enlist right after high school or go to college first and commission as an officer. And so ever since I could remember, I mean, 3-4 years old, that's all I've ever wanted to do.
Did your mom ever feel a little nervous about you wanting to go that route?
Yeah, she
love your mom, by the way, too.
Yeah,
I love your mom.
No,
She's
yeah,
such a saint.
She's saved me so many times in life. But yeah, she definitely was wary, especially once I got into high school and it started to become like more of a reality, and in like everyday like talks about like what I want to do when I grow up and whatnot. And so she was always worried because even I mean the war in Iraq and Afghanistan was still pretty relevant in the early 2010s. And so she was always worried about like me going and dying and whatnot. But once I actually commissioned, I went to my first duty station, and then I started talking about, and we'll probably get to this later, but like I started talking about like, I don't know if this is for me anymore. Like I kind of want to transition to something else. It kind of like broke her heart a little bit. It was like, well, this is what you've talked about since you were like 3.
Sure.
And so like she definitely is, has always been like scared of the aspect of like, it's a dangerous job, what I do and whatnot. And just inherently dangerous. It doesn't even have to be like a deployment scenario. But then she's also just like, oh, like this is what you want to do, and I'm proud that like this is what like my son is doing this. If
Sure.
that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I think there's a big pride factor. It's interesting. I feel that any parent that I've met of someone in the military service is always that reaction of I'm so proud. It also breaks my heart a little bit. And it's only because they're sometimes gone for a long time, such as deployments. We'll dive into that. And the feelings of worriness about your child, because you never know what's going to go on, right? But the pride is the fact that you're making the ultimate sacrifice to be selfless and do something for your country. So I can definitely see, I see how that makes an impact someone, and especially your mom, since you're really the only one that's around the house, especially after your grandpa had passed, right? Yeah. Anyways, ROTC life in college. How tough was that? And be real with us, man, because I'll tell you, some of our friends are probably hearing this too. There were nights where you're like, oh yeah, here we go. We're young. We're just thinking we're going to go out downtown. It's going to be a blast. Drag you down. No, I got to get up at 6 a.m. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So overall, like it wasn't that bad. The hardest part was the 6 o'clock, or really the 5 o'clock wake ups to get there by 6.
5 o'clock. That's right. Not 6.
For PT, and that was just working out. Like it really, looking back, like, and even now, I mean, I do it now, and instead of 3 days a week for the last 8 years, I've been doing 5 days a week, plus going to the gym in the afternoons after work. And so like all it is working out. It's really not that bad. Like while it's new to you and fresh, and getting into that mindset and that culture, you're like, man, like this sucks. Like, what am I doing with my life? Like Herbie and you are sleeping in every day, and I'm over here waking up every day at 0, like at 5. And but like at the end of the day, like it teaches you to appreciate like those early mornings. You get after it, you knock out your workout, and you don't got to worry about it for the rest of the day. And honestly, like mentally, like and I've learned this slowly throughout the years, but like being just physically fit in general, mentally you just feel better after going to the gym, or working out, going for a run, whatever it may be.
Yeah, that I agree with for sure. And a couple of people I've had on the episode, 2 firemen actually, who maybe you guys have heard their stories, very similar as well, to talking about how good you feel when you're just physically in shape.
Yep.
Keeps you mentally sharp. And they even talk about your spirits being pretty high up because you just feel good. Yep. You're not feeling how some of us may feel sometimes in the corporal sales world, where we got too much going on throughout the day. We're on the grind. We're trying to make money. That American lifestyle, right? Doesn't stop. And then you get something quick to eat like fast food, and then you feel like absolute shit the rest of the day. You know what I mean? Or you're not working out as much as you should. Yeah. So I was going to dive into that too, because I wanted to hear a little more about how good it is, at least being in the military lifestyle, that you have to stay active. Mm-hmm. You're pretty much not just encouraged, but mandated to stay active through PT, through all the training you guys do.
Yeah. And so, that's a huge, and me. So like the position I'm in right now, I'm in charge of about 100 guys. I have lieutenants under me. I've a bunch of sergeants and sergeant first classes under me. And so, like 50% of my job specifically, I can't speak for the others, but, 50% of it is just staying physically fit
and get those guys in shape.
Yeah, and it's not hard to do. It really isn't. And people like some of the junior guys, like the 18, 19-year-olds, like you'll hear them complain and whatnot. It's like, dude, you're getting paid. You're literally getting paid to work out.
Yeah.
Like it's not that bad. And it's not only just like, so like mentally, like you feel great. Like obviously at 5 a.m, 6 a.m, you're like, fuck, I really don't want to do this.
Sure. But once you do it, you're right. You feel
once you
really
get 30,
good.
40 minutes in, you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm woken up now.
Yeah.
Let's get after it. And and you're always doing it with other people. It's not like you're going to the gym by yourself and doing a quick hour lifting or whatever. Like you're running with a group of like
Right.
10, 15 guys. You're doing at NAU we'd work out in the Sky Dome at the football stadium, and so we would do stadiums like with the entire group of guys. And, yeah, that was horrible.
Talk about a way to puke.
And so like all these workouts are done with other people. So like that's always really nice to kind of share the motivation and I guess it's kind of corny to say, but celebrate you guys like getting through it at the end of the workout.
It's not corny. It's true, especially with a lot of young guns out there that go and join the military. You know, they may think the lifestyle right away is good to go, and then they're in that in the depths and trenches of some hard workouts, right? And so it is something to celebrate. You're able to do it because I guarantee you there are plenty of people who go through some of the rigorous training you guys do and go, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then you're taught real quick. You can your mind. You can push your mind to do a lot more things than you think you can. Push your body, right? Your mind is the one that kind of stops you on that.
Your mind gives up before your body does.
Yeah. So, okay, we talked a little about the ROTC thing. For you, it wasn't as bad. You got through it all 4 years, and you did criminal justice.
I did, yeah.
So let me ask you this, because you could have chosen, I'm assuming, any degree you wanted, knowing that you're going to be commissioned as an officer after you graduated and get your paper and right. But why at the time criminal justice? What had drawn you to that?
So my backup plan was always something in like law enforcement.
Okay.
If the Army wasn't going to work out for whatever reason, I wanted to set myself up for something within the law enforcement. I have no idea what. Even now, as I like look to possibly transition out of the Army, I'm still trying to figure out where in law enforcement I want to like fit myself into. But that's kind of it was always a backup plan in case it didn't happen. And I'm not a big office guy. Like I couldn't do it like you or Herbie or like Nuvi does. Like they would drive me nuts. And it's good on you guys that you can, because I don't have the so I'm always really impressed the way like you speak, because like I remember in college you were working at that one place, I can't remember, and you take phone calls. You had the phone, the second phone on you all the time. You take phone calls.
The mental health center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you would always take, even now to or your other job before the one that you have now, you would take phone calls.
That was wild. That was on call.
And like we would just be bullshitting whatever, like at lunch, and you take a phone call, and like your whole demeanor would switch up, and like super professional. Very well spoken, and like I just cannot see myself do that at all. And it's so hard. And so and that's just one thing. Like I always looked up to you to be able to like make that switch to be like super professional. And recently, I know like we always like give each other shit in the group chat about like the way I speak and whatnot.
Yeah, that group chat's wild. We can't ever let that go. Yeah.
If it ever got leaked, we're like screwed.
Yeah, 100%.
But no, like it's I've tried to like do a lot better, especially in the position that I'm in now, to be a little bit more well spoken and professional. I slip up a lot still, but
that's okay.
But being I couldn't do it for like a career. It's just not for me. And so looking at something in law enforcement was always a backup plan. If it didn't work out, and even now as I'm looking to possibly get out in the next like 1 to 2 years. I'm kind of looking on the more professional side of law enforcement within like the government still, but whether my degree helps me out with that or not. But
I think it's a great transition, and you're not alone in that. There are a lot of people who came out of the military that I know personally, gone into law enforcement, firefighting. Some have gone actually into national parks, have really enjoyed that aspect of living, right? So they're a forest ranger or or park ranger, right? So look, office life's not for everyone. I'm sure you guys know it out there too. Everyone's different, and that's good. The last thing I would want for you is to look at people and be like, oh, everyone else is doing that. Maybe I should go do that and be miserable. You don't want to be miserable, man. It does you no good. And then you're feeling, I'm sure, even more lost on, oh man, post military life and I'm doing something I hate. Is this, what do you guys call it? The casual, the regular, what do you call the regular people? Isn't there a term you guys use for regular people?
Oh, we're just civilians.
Okay, civilians,
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
yeah.
So, no, I think it's good to be aware of that now and know what you have a gist idea of where you want to go into after, right? That being said, so now we have an understanding of why you had the criminal justice degree and you graduate NAU and you get in as a second lieutenant, right? Right into the Army. Can I ask you, and feel free to speak to it as much as you want, or if you don't want to talk about it, there are gentlemen out there and women who go straight into the Army from high school, right? The recruiter hits them up. They say, all right, go this route. And for a lot of high schoolers, the amount of money you make right after high school, going straight into the Army is a ton, because they obviously don't see that kind of money in some of the small part-time shifts they can pick up during high school or as a busser. You know, I did that too. And you're not seeing as much money, but a little bit of money excites you, right? Usually you're not growing up with the most amount of money. Some maybe do. Some have an allowance, which is cool. For someone like you and I, like, I didn't really have an allowance. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't really have that money unless you worked for yourself. So with that context, my question to you is, do you see a difference? And can you tell when someone has come straight from college, being commissioned as an officer, still being young? I mean, we're pretty young when we come out of college, compared to someone come out of high school going to the Army, regardless of rank, just in terms of mentality and maturity.
Yeah. It's so subjective. Like I've seen lieutenants that act and spend and have a lifestyle as like an 18-year-old, and they're like 23, 24. I think my lieutenants right now are like 23. One's 23, one's a little bit older. He came from the enlisted side first and transitioned over. They're great. My guys are great. I don't have any worry, but I've seen lieutenants that are just like, they go absolutely buck wild, fresh out the schoolhouse. I have a buddy of mine, I'm not going to say his name, but super good guy. But when we were in Bullock together with Basic Officer Leaders Course, it's the first course you go to when you first enter the Army, and you learn your job of whatever it is in the Army as a lieutenant. And not to bag on like the West Pointers too much, but like, they don't get a normal college experience. They don't get to go buck wild in college and kind of like get that out of their system. Some do. There's ways to do it, but it's nothing like what we experienced.
Okay.
And so when they get that first taste of freedom, like real freedom, when they're
Sure.
a lieutenant at Fort Benning Fort Sill, wherever these basic courses are, they just go absolutely insane. And it's just like, dude, like I've been doing this for 4 years. Like I'm trying to like chill out a little bit. And so I've seen that. I've also seen it at the actual first duty station after your course, where it's the same populace of like the West Pointers or the senior military kids that didn't get that freedom in college. And so like, this is their chance to, which is fine. I completely understand why they would do that. But it's funny to see, because you start to compare them to like these 18, 19-year-old like privates, and it's just like, what are we doing?
Sure.
What are we doing right
You're
now?
like, you're supposed to lead. You're supposed to be
Yeah,
example,
exactly.
right?
And I'm not saying like I'm better than them, because I've had my wild nights when
Sure.
I was at like 23, 24 years old.
Well,
It just
who
wasn't.
hasn't? Yeah.
It just wasn't to the capacity that college was. And I also have privates that are like all over like the age scale. Like right now I have a 41-year-old private, I have a 38-year-old private, and then they all range down all the way to like 18.
I got to stop you there. 41 years old, you can enter the military that old?
Yeah, you can. Recruiters will do anything and everything to like get a guy, which is that's a whole separate conversation
Sure.
with like morals and ethics. But they're good guys. There was nothing unmoral or unethical of them joining the Army. There's waivers though that can get signed off by certain people to allow them into service. Past,
Sure.
I think 36 is like the age cutoff right now.
Right. And no disrespect to those guys.
Yeah.
Anyone who's in the military that is that age of maybe that rank of a private or just a little bit more, look, you're definitely not probably. I got to stop that. You're way more in shape than I am. I'll tell you that, right? To be doing that and living that lifestyle, and we thank you for your service. I think it just caught me by surprise because, this could be more hearsay. I always thought there was a certain age cutoff in the military.
Yeah, there is.
Right?
It's 36. I believe it's 36. And then you can, with a waiver signed off by somebody. I don't know off the top of my head who's the authority to sign off on that. But with a waiver, you can be above 36. So like these two guys, like they got families, they got kids, they've done it all. I mean, some of them could be my dad, like at how old they are, and but it's funny because like these older guys, and some of them aren't as like old as 38 or 41. Some of them are like later 20s, closer to like our age, and they try to kind of like wrangle like all the younger guys for the NCOs that have to. That's their like actual job. Mm-hmm. They lean on like these older guys a lot to wrangle some of these younger fellows up, and it's funny because like I was surprised just as much as you were when I first took over and I was kind of getting to know some people, and I was like, that guy kind of looks like older, and I go up to him like, hey man, like how old are you?
Yeah, you guys are that direct.
And when he said like and he's like, oh well sir, I'm 41, and I was like, for real? Like that is crazy. And I would ask like why now of all times?
Yeah, I'd be curious too. Yeah.
And usually it goes like it's something they've always wanted to do, and they just never were in a place in life to be able to enlist in the Army. And so whether that was like family reasons, they had a family real young, or that some of them got in trouble with the law at a really early age, and that kind of like stepped them back a little bit from being able to join the Army. And so it's really interesting to like hear these guys' stories of like why they decide to join so late.
I love that, man. I mean that's amazing. And to those gentlemen out there who are joining later in life in the military, more for a pursuit because this is something that you want to do and you want to give to your country, and regardless of what age you are, God bless you guys, man. That's amazing. I would have never thought that. In my head, I keep thinking, why would you join the military so late? But what a batch of good human beings to really say, hey, this is just something I'm passionate about. Mm-hmm. I've set myself up for a good instance. And to know that even with a family, you're saying, this is just still a calling I want to hit.
Yeah, and that's another reason, like, that some of them do it that are older. Like, the benefits are pretty good. And so, like, maybe like the job market wasn't it for them at the time, and like they're like, hey, this is like the best chance I got to like take care of my family. So there's that aspect too.
Sure, makes sense.
And then it's crazy because like these guys are competing with like 18-19-year-old kids like in their prime, and they're still keeping up with them at 41, 38 years old, late 20s, like whatever it may be. Like they got to like keep up with these young guys, where I even have a hard time sometimes at 30 years old trying to keep up with some of these younger guys. And no, it's definitely like commendable on them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I could do that.
The way that my body's breaking down right now at 31, I don't think so. Yeah. But good for those gentlemen and women out there doing that. Let me ask you, man, and for them to know, and I don't know how much in detail you can, I'm not sure, but what is your official title and rank in the military?
So I'm a captain right now. I am a troop/company commander, whatever makes sense to you. I say troop commander because in the cavalry squadron, they're troops, not companies. And so I'm a troop commander right now of a reconnaissance unit, and I've only done reconnaissance since I was a lieutenant. And so when I was at JBLM up in Tacoma, Washington, I was a scout platoon leader. And then I did some advising time for about 18 months over in the SFAB in Texas. And then I was at Fort Bragg for a little bit doing some airborne, reconnaissance stuff until they shut that down and had to come back to Fort Hood in Texas, or Fort Cavazos, my bad.
Gotcha. So, and you also jumped out of planes.
Yeah, that was at Fort Bragg. That was
Okay.
for about like 8 months. It was a weird time in my life where I tried to stay in Texas. The Army said no. You're gonna go to this unit that we know is gonna shut down in like 8-9 months, but we're gonna send you anyways. They didn't say that, but like we all knew it was
Yeah.
happening based off just rumblings from previous years, and I don't regret it at all. Like it was a great experience. Every young lieutenant or every young officer or young soldier, they want to go to airborne school. That like they want to do all the cool guy stuff. And so I kind of just like, sucks that I have to move after 18 months, but this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like who gets to say they get paid to like jump out of airplanes? And so I went and did that for like 8 months. I loved it. It was awesome. I didn't want to leave. When I found out that that unit was getting shut down, I was pretty upset. I loved North Carolina. I was close to family. Some of our buddies up in Maryland, I was able to go see and
Yeah.
whatnot, and loved the East Coast. I was really sad to leave that job,
Sure.
but it was easier to come back to Texas. I know Texas. I love it there. I understand what the hype is about Texas,
Yeah.
and so I chose to come back after that short like cool guy stint up there.
Well, not many people get to jump out of an airplane for the military like
Yeah,
that, so that
it's
is pretty
wild.
cool.
It's absolutely wild.
So now that we're, where you're at currently in your career, I got to ask you, and I'm sure they're curious. We built up to this point. What does it mean for you to be in the United States Army?
You know, I've had a hard time like finding my purpose in the army because if anybody's watching that's been in or is in now, like you could probably agree with this, is like you do a lot of dumb shit
Okay.
for like no apparent reason or no real reason that you can see right in front of you. And so I would say about 50% of my time in the army is the dumb shit that we got to do, like
Sure.
just random taskings, doing things that aren't even your job or what like your recruiter told you were doing or what they told you in school. And so like that's been a big struggle of mine, is to find my purpose within the military. And then the other 50% is great. You're doing your job, you're leading people, you're forming those relationships with people. I mean, I still talk to like pretty much everybody I've gotten close with in the army to this day. Over 8 years, I have a group of I think 5 guys that we have. We have a group chat still from when we were lieutenants, and we talk every day. And this is going on 8 years now of like friendship, and we flew out and seen each other and met up as groups with their wives and whatnot. And so really like I think my biggest I guess purpose is creating those relationships amongst people, like and it doesn't necessarily need to be like my relationship, but like facilitating those relationships between other people. Now that I'm in kind of a leadership role again, is to foster that kind of environment where like people are comfortable with building those relationships with like lifelong relationships. Like these guys that I met up in Washington, some of the guys that I met in Texas and in my first stint here or there in Texas, like these guys are lifelong friends. Like I'm always going to, no matter what, like have a relationship with them to a capacity. Guys that I can hit up any day of the week, anytime, on the phone and just bullshit with them, or if like they need something or I need something, like they're always able to reach out. And so I love building like that culture of being able to create those relationships. And that's kind of what my purpose so far I think is, especially in the position that I'm in now. We're a newer unit. We just stood up in August. It was deactivated for like a year. And so like everybody in this unit, me, my first sergeant, the platoon leaders, the platoon sergeants, like we're all like brand new to this unit. We had to go through the struggle of like, all the systems and processes, standing it all up again. And then like all these privates and their first look at the army, like I want them to have like a positive outlook, that it's not that bad. Where like when I was kind of in their position as a lieutenant it felt like we were just getting, shit on every day with something else, something new. And I tried to do like my best as lieutenant, and I can only affect, such a smaller scope than I can now. But now that I'm in charge of, 2 to 3 platoons of worth of guys, ranging from 90 to 100 guys at any given time, like I can kind of help create that culture, to foster an environment that, centers around teamwork, leaning on each other for support and all that. It doesn't have to be like, they don't have to be scared to like come and talk to me.
Yeah.
Although like maybe frowned upon in certain aspects, but like I don't care if like this 18-year-old private comes to my office like, hey sir, like I'd like to talk to you, or if they're doing that to their platoon leader or one of their NCOs. Like I want to see that. I don't want to see people afraid just because I got 2 bars on my chest, or some guy has a bunch of stuff on his chest that, it shouldn't be a scary thing to do. Like they need those mentors in their life and those lifelong like relationships and contacts to be able to reach out whenever at any given time.
It sounds
if
like
that made any, I know that was like super winded response, but
no, it's a good detailed answer of what's going through your mind, how you process that, and the gist that I'm getting from it. And you let me know if I'm on the same page here with you and what you just explained. It sounds like the piece that you grabbed from the military and who you are is the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and the mentorship, because you care a lot for people. You are a people person. You've shown that in our own group of friends and for the people that I've seen you meet around you. It's always putting them before you, which is big. It's huge, and it's what is needed in the military. Yeah. Next thing I want to ask you about, which goes right into it, is mental health. It's huge. I hear about it all the time. Some things you tell me, I can't imagine what some of those guys and gals go through. And I've gotten to hear you talk to some people when I've come to visit, because you're always willing to answer their calls, which is amazing. And so I would like to ask you, with mental health within the military, how often is that really seen in everyday life? Like, do you really see that many people struggling out there mentally? I'm sure they've got their X and X reasons, but it just feels more and more that's come to light lately in the media and just in terms of the news. And so how has that been for you personally?
Yeah, so it's hard because not everybody, there's like not an unwritten rule, but like everybody deals with it in the military, I think, very internally. I don't think a lot of people express themselves as they should. Everybody kind of, sucks it up and just moves on. And I was just actually talking to my mom about this morning, because she was asking me like how I was doing, and I'm like, oh, I'm just, I'm nutting up and getting through it, and I think there's this like this aspect where I think in some ways it's good, because like not every small little problem needs to be this like massive emotional event. Sure. Right? And like some of these kids, and I think it's a generational thing. Like I have this one kid, really good guy, very timid. He's like 18 years old, never left home like as a lot of them did, and I noticed something about him for like 2 or 3 months. I watched this kid, and it never had a smile on his face, was always like sad, super timid, or sad looking at least. And I pulled him aside one day and I was like, dude, what is up with you? Like, what's going on? Sure. Like, why aren't you happy here? Like, I could tell you're not happy. And it was just a bunch of small little things. I'm not going to get into it, but I was like, look, man, like this should be like the greatest time of your life. Like, you got paid to come somewhere that you would never go on your own accord if you weren't in the Army. There's all sorts of walks of life to like befriend. There's so much things to do in Texas. You're making decent money as an 18-year-old. Like it doesn't have to be that bad. There's so much outlook, positive outlook to your life right now. I understand like you came from, whether it was a broken home, a death in the family, whatever it may be, but like you have so many resources around you. And so the whole mental health thing for these younger guys is hard to grasp as like a 30-year-old guy that's been through it, right? Yeah. and I'll admit, like, I probably should do a bit better of, like, being empathetic or sympathetic
Sure.
towards these like 18 to 21-year-old
Because
population.
we were all young,
Exactly. And so where it gets a little bit more, tricky is like these older guys that, deployed a lot more than I have, saw some real stuff, are on their second, third, marriage, have kids, paying child support, whatever the story is, like, those guys are the ones I'm more worried about, because they come from a generation where they did nut up. They're not out here looking sad. They're not.
Wow.
They're not out here talking about their life and how depressed they are or whatnot. I mean, last summer, great example. My buddy Zach, love the guy, rest in peace. He ended up taking his own life last summer.
Sorry to hear that.
No, it is what it is. Great guy. And they talk about suicide, how there's like all these like signs and symptoms, and it's not true. There are no signs or symptoms for suicide, in my opinion.
Sure. Well, I mean, you're seeing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I know, like, you coming from a psychology background, like, I'm sure it's been talked about in your realm. But it's this guy, like, I saw him a week prior. Like, we had a beer together. He was 6 months out from retiring. He set up for life, him and his wife, and had a beer with him the week prior, and then saw him again that Wednesday, and everything was cool. He was getting moved into a position. He'd be home by 1:00 every day, and seemed super happy about it. Everything was great. And then I get a phone call Friday from my buddy, and was like, "Hey man, Zach's dead." And I was like, "What?" Like, it was so surreal to me, because, like, he was the last guy I would have ever thought about to like do something like that. And so that's the population that I'm more concerned about, is because you will never see it coming at all. At least on the military side. I can't speak for like, your side of things, or
Sure.
police or firefighters or any public service, but, like, that's the part that's, like, scary to me, is that those guys, you'll never see it coming.
Yeah.
It'll just happen one day, and you're just, like, so shocked you can't even form, like, a thought or opinion. And to this day, like, I still don't know why or how, or and that's just something that is gonna always be in all of the friend group that was friends with him. Like, we're all gonna wonder, like, why, and we'll never get those answers of, like, the why. And I don't think anybody in that situation will get those answers, because it's so shocking.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I think some of it can be generational, depending on the house you grew up into, and what your ideas were, because it is very different from the generations a little younger than us now, right? And like you said, some of us are really taught to not express our emotions and to put on a facade, a face, and you're good to go. That's really sad to hear, man. But it is true. Even coming from a psychology background, they try to teach you the signs and symptoms, right? If someone's starting to distance themselves a little bit, but sometimes there might be some way for someone to cope. Yep. And it is tough, because you never know, because there are people that I've known that have taken their life. Unfortunately, you would have never seen it coming. Yep. And like you said, they're happy, everything's going good. And I think sometimes we can be hard on ourselves, because we think, why didn't I ask a little more? Why didn't I dive in deep in a little more? Like, what's going on? What's happening? But even then, when I hear that response all the time, I'm like, well, I couldn't. It's just like, if someone's so set to do that, to end their own suffering, do you really? I mean, it might. I'm not saying don't. It might. But if they're really set on it, it's their own decision. It's no one's fault. It's no one could have done anything more. Unfortunately, it's just, if they're so set on it, sometimes I think that they're not going to lead you for them to find out. That's a scary piece of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think between the two generations, like our generation and the one prior to that, just suck it up generation. And then the 17 to 21-year-olds that I deal with now, that kid I was talking about, I think they're in a better spot, because you could see it on their face.
Yeah.
They're a little bit
more, express it.
They're a little bit more expressive about it, which I think is great. It's a great indicator of, like, hey, I need to talk to this guy and see, like, if he's cool. And so, like, even though, like, I said all those things about that kid that was like, hey, you're so sad about all these small little things. There's so much to do and see and get after. It doesn't have to be that depressing. I'm glad I was able to identify it, because some of these older guys, I mean, like, you would think their life is fantastic, and then like something like that happens, and you're just like, where did that come from? Like, what is going on? And so I'm thankful for the younger generation. I don't know what it was, like how their high schools like developed them, or their parents or whatever.
I think we're becoming a bit more progressive for the younger generation, and which is good. It's good to that extent, because that is scary, the whole suicide awareness not being as present, and mental health hopefully getting a little better, because I know that military life can be a little tough. Well, I want to say I appreciate you opening up on that, because that is something of vulnerability, and to the friends and family who may know your buddy there, rest in peace. Sorry about that. That's sad. That's sad to hear. I definitely want to take us away from a little more of this dark section here and go a little light here as we're about to end this. For you, Greg, you're thinking about maybe a couple years away now from leaving the service. Your contract's going to end, and I know you probably have had some thought on what you want to do. I won't necessarily ask you to dive into that, but I want to know, where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Like, what sounds good to you, man? Is it Greg out on the mountainside, maybe a little, not isolated, but a little away from the big city and all that traffic? Is it you within the city being surrounded with friends and family? Like, what is 10 years from now?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that, because I mean, I grew up in Phoenix. It's a huge city. Every military installation I've been at is almost next to like a big city. So when I was at Benning, Atlanta was like 2 hours away. When I was in Tacoma, between Tacoma, Olympia, and Seattle, like, you're in 3 major cities there. Now in North Carolina was probably the most, kind of out there spot. Like Raleigh was a decent amount away. And then now that I'm in Texas, like, I have Austin an hour away. Yeah. And so like the whole big city thing is just not my thing anymore. Okay. I love Herbie. I really do, but I don't know how he does it in his like apartment downtown Phoenix. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, he's another being. Yeah, he's another being. He's living his life right now. Which, Herbie, good for you, bud. Good for you.
No, it's crazy. I love it for him, but 10 years ago, absolutely, I would. That's probably what my goal was going to be. I would love to live in a sky-rise building, be walking distance from anything and everything I need. Sure. But like now, man, like, all I want is like, land, whether that's like 10 acres or 50 acres, plop a house down, have some animals, whether that's like, chickens, obviously. I love like fresh eggs. I don't know if you ever had like an egg straight from a chicken's ass, but like,
no, I've only had eggs literally at the supermarket, but I assume they come out the same way.
Yeah. So it's like, they're just, they're great. Like there's such a huge difference.
The freshness. Okay.
But, just have like not I don't want to say a farm, but almost sustaining your everyday living. And just like raise a family on some land and be able to do whatever I want on my land, without anybody else like messing with me. Next neighbor is like miles away, if that, and probably somewhere in like the southeast. That's probably my favorite area that I've lived in so far. But 10 years from now, like if I could have that, I'll be happy. Like I'll be happy for the rest of my life. The whole big city stuff is a little overwhelming for me at this point. In life. There's just a lot going on, too many people. I've appreciated solidarity. If that makes sense.
I know what you're talking about.
Especially like
solitude.
Solitude. Especially the last 8 years. If I'm on a training exercise or deployment, like you're like living with people all the time. Like I just went 40 days out in California on a training thing, and having to share a living space with another like grown man for 40 days. Like I'm beyond that at this point. And there's obviously like I still have a couple more years of that, and it is great. Like looking like when that stuff is over, you're just like, you know, that wasn't really that bad. But like while you're in it, you're just like, man, I cannot wait to just be by myself, take a shower by myself instead of like with a group of guys. And so I think like looking 10 years ahead, like just having some, you know, independence away from just normal society would be great.
I think it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense for what you're doing in the military and how often you're around people all the time and the experiences you have with, you know, other military members, right? Yeah. The other people out there in the field, and you guys are doing your, even like the drill that you came back from, which is what, 14 days out there, right?
Oh yeah.
Couple guys. So it makes sense, man. Get your plot of land, have your peace and tranquility out there with a family. I love that for you, man. And I think it will come to fruition. Just got to make it happen. I think it's right there for you. 2 more things before we end this here. I think this is really important here. I'd like for you, for anyone out there who's looking at maybe joining the military, maybe they're in high school, maybe they're later down in life and they're thinking to do it. Maybe they're in college, same in ROTC. If you could give a one piece of advice before entering the military to get ready for it or to make sure they're making the right decision, what would it be?
Man, there's just so much. Just learn. You're gonna have to grow up fast.
Okay.
Like that's probably the one thing. Like you're not going to have your mom or your daddy with you anymore. You're going to have like a stern, you know, mid-20s, late 20s, like figure that's like expecting you to act like an adult. When you might not even feel like an adult yet at 18. And so just be ready to grow up fast. Learn how to do, you know, the normal, you know, adult things in life, like, you know, pay rent, pay your bills, be responsible. Cause like there's too many times where like I've had to, like, it sounds crazy, but like I've had to tell like a 20-something-year-old, like, you need to pay your rent.
Yeah, you got a full on.
And adult. You would never think that you'd have to tell like someone over the age of 18 to do that. And so, just you gotta grow up fast and learn how to be, you know, independent and do all the normal things in life, like right when you hit the ground at 18.
Okay, fair enough. So you heard it there. If you're thinking about it at a young age, you're gonna grow up fast because you're gonna need it. Don't have your lieutenants and higher ranking officers coming at you because you don't know how to pay rent or you know what rent is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It happens. I'm not judging, but cool, man. I appreciate that a ton. And as we're about to wrap this up, any last minute shout outs? Anyone you want to say hello to? Anyone you want to?
No, not really. Just I'm happy to be here and be able to get this opportunity with you and be one of the first ones on your show. If anybody has any questions about literally anything, whether it's the Army or just life in general, like I'm sure you'll post this or whatever, but like throw a comment in there, and I'm pretty active on social media, and so like if I see a comment under this, if you have any questions, I'll comment with my personal page back and
cool.
Or DM you and answer whatever you got.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Thank you for doing that, man. I think it's huge. It's good for networking. It's good for other people out there who may be interested, who have some curiosity about your life now and what to look forward to in the military life. Maybe someone who's out there struggling. So at the end of the episode, I'll drop your Instagram and the comments and details too, if that's cool for you.
Yeah. No,
beautiful.
Yeah, no problem.
No, brother, thank you so much, man. I love you a ton. You know that you're your family to me, and I love the fact you're able to do this episode with me and be vulnerable and talk about stuff. So I appreciate you a ton.
I appreciate you.
And obviously, man, proud of you and thank you for your service, brother. It's a cool thing that you do and cool thing for all the men and women out there. Thank you so much. As another thing before I wrap this up, actually, I know we touched a little bit on suicide, so I do want to make this note here. It is super important to be aware of these things. And just for this episode, since we touched base on it, I'm going to drop a couple of resources as well for that. Hotline or just certain things to do if you feel that someone might be kind of teetering with that thought. It's a scary thing, and so I just want to make sure that's present for anyone out there. And yeah, alrighty. So guys, thank you again for joining us for another week here. Let's talk about this way. It's been awesome to have my good friend Greg come and join us. We're gonna get some barbecue now, and we're super excited over at this entertainment district called Pecan Grill. If anyone have ever heard of it out here in Arizona. It's got some mean barbecue out there. So that being said, outro music's going out. That is the band Hannah again. Awesome dudes out there in Simi Valley, crushing it. Give them a listen. They're on Spotify, YouTube, Bandcamp. You know what? They're on all these streaming platforms. I can't name them all, but they're there. Just look them up. The band Hannah. Thank you guys for letting me use your music. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you guys so much for your support, for continuing to watch this show. I think it's great for everyone else to be listening to this, hearing other perspectives, hearing other stories, and a beautiful way to network out there. We're not going to get the opportunity to listen and talk to every single person on the planet, so it's a good start here to give people the platform. So thank you so much again. Don't forget to follow the Instagram page, like it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, drop a comment, give me some insight, let me know what you think, or if you'd like to be on the show, reach out to me. We'd love to have you on there. The more people, the merrier, more perspectives, and a more diverse population hearing and be able to talk about it. So thank you guys so much, and I hope everyone has a good rest of your weekend. We're out of here. See ya.